Hi, Bishop Corbin. Now that you've created a Common App account, the next thing we want to do is log in and start getting some of these questions answered. So remember, when you log in, you're going to click that you are a first year student since we've already created that account. And then here is where we want to go ahead and input the email address that you used when you created your account. Now remember, that could have been your at BGHS Cloud account, or it could have been a personal email address that you chose to use. So let's go ahead and make sure that I remembered my password correctly, and I did, it looks like. So the first thing that we're going to do is this is your dashboard, and this kind of tells you a little bit about what's going on here with the Common App, but I'm going to help you through the entire process. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click the tab that says Common App right here in the middle. And what that's going to do is you're going to have to complete all of this information, and you only have to do this once though, and you'll see that a lot of this information has been populated for you from when you created your account. So if you have a nickname, you can put that in here, but please note that anything with a red asterisk, like first name or last name, does have to be completed. If you're a junior, a third, the fourth, anything like that, you can put that here if you like, but it's not necessary. Here where it says, have you ever used any other names? That's typically for women applicants that have married and then have a new name. They've taken the name of a spouse, but it could be for a variety of reasons. Perhaps you were adopted and you had a name change. So if this applies to you, go ahead and click yes, and then there will be an additional question that you'll have to answer. If you click no, then you'll just proceed to the next question. Now for sex, your options are male or female, and so I'm going to choose the one that I'm associated with. And then down here, it does give you an opportunity to invite more information about gender identity if you want to include that in the following box. So go ahead and click continue, and then that's going to take us to the address portion. So in the address portion, you'll see that the Bishop Gorman address is already populated there because that's what I inputted when I created my account. If there aren't any additional mailing addresses, so this would be, for example, if you have a permanent home address but currently you are residing somewhere else for a temporary basis, you could put an alternate address, but a lot of times people will leave this blank and want to continue, but notice there is a red asterisk, so we do have to answer this question. So for almost all of you, you're going to click the button that says I have no alternate address and go ahead and click continue. One thing I do want to make note of is if you see these green check marks to the left here, that indicates that that section is complete. And over here on the far left, where it says profile, family, and education, when those sections are done, you'll notice that there will be green check marks on every single one of those moving forward. So our preferred phone number, again, home or mobile, it is a required field, so we do have to choose one of those. So I'm going to say that this is a mobile phone number, even though that is my work phone number. And then I do not want to put an alternate phone number in there, and then I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. That's going to take us to our demographics page. Now again, religious preference not required, but I'm going to go ahead and answer that anyhow. So we are Roman Catholics if you are of the Catholic tradition. So if you don't find it under Catholic, you may have to scroll down to Roman Catholic, and that's something that sometimes kids struggle with. U.S. Armed Forces status. So this is for you, not for your parent. So if your parent is a member of the armed forces and you are a current dependent, you would go ahead and click that button. Otherwise, you're going to click none. And then, are you Hispanic or Latino, Latina, or Latinx? That is a question that you have to answer. So, or you can answer, excuse me. If you do hit yes, it's going to ask you a few more questions about your background. What part of the world are you from? Things of that nature. So if you are not, go ahead and hit no, and you can move on. Now, it does advantage you to be honest in this section because there are scholarships and other opportunities that are available to people from different backgrounds. So I'd encourage you to answer these questions because you may be contacted about particular scholarships that may be targeted towards you based upon your responses. So at this time, you want to go ahead and go down to the next section, and it says, regardless of your answer, please indicate how you identify yourself. So if you pick any of these, it's going to then ask you, what part of the world are you from if you've chosen that you are Asian, or if you're American Indian, they're going to want to know what is your tribal affiliation, etc. And then are you actually enrolled in a tribe? And if you are, what is your tribal number? Things of that nature. So you want to go ahead and answer these appropriately. If you identify yourself as black, for example, or African American, it's going to ask which of these best describe your background, and just go ahead and answer those appropriately. And you can check more than one box, as you can see. So if you are from, say, North Africa, Egypt, or something of that nature, or the Middle East, and you've clicked the white button, you can click that you're from the Middle East, or that you're European, or from maybe South Africa, whatever it might be. So I'm going to answer this as if it were me filling out the form, which it is, and I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. Now for geography, if you were born in the United States, that's easy. That's the first one there. I happen to not be born in the United States, so I'm going to go ahead and mark the one that is appropriate for me and go ahead and put all that information in here. And I've lived in the United States for more than 20 years. And we are going to go ahead and just answer those questions. So for most of you, that's not going to be a concern. Now, for language, number of languages you are proficient in. Again, this is a required question, and it is up to you to determine how you're going to answer this question. If you had a language other than English that was your primary language growing up, you may say that you're proficient in 2 languages. And if you may have studied a language in school and now you are proficient in that, that might be another reason to say that you're proficient in a particular language. So I'm just going to say that I am proficient in English, and that was my first language. I speak it, I read it, I write it, and we speak it at home. So for many of you, if you happen to be, for example, proficient in Spanish, it may be your first language and you may speak it, but you don't read and write it very well and you don't speak it at home. Or it may be your first language and you speak it at home and you can read it, but you don't really write it very well. So you can answer those however you would like. In the next box, it asks for your citizenship status. And one of the reasons it asks for this is because in order to receive federal financial aid, you do have to be a United States citizen. And then one of the things that you are going to need in order to complete this application is a social security number. Again, if you are going to be applying for financial aid and filling out that FAFSA. We encourage all students to fill out the FAFSA because regardless of how much money your parents make or don't make, some institutions, in order to receive any money, including merit-based aid, do require you to fill out the FAFSA. So again, sometimes people say, my mom and dad make too much money, we're not going to receive aid. It is still important for you to go ahead and fill out the FAFSA, and you can include your social security number here if you know it. So I'm going to leave it blank for this time being, and I'm going to just go ahead and hit continue. If you notice, that was not a required question, so I still have a green check mark on the box that says citizenship. Additionally, if you don't have your social security card with you and you want to fill that out at a later time, you can always come back and just click on that box and you can go ahead and input that at any time in the future. Okay, and then am I receiving a Common App fee waiver? Again, if you received a fee waiver for a SAT or ACT through the College Board or ACT, you can click yes. For a vast majority of our students, the answer here is going to be no, and then we're going to go ahead and click continue. At this point, you'll notice that the profile section does have a nice green check mark up here, which then means that you have finished the profile portion, and you can move on to the next section, which is family. Now, parents' marital status. So my parents happen to be married, so I'm going to select that one. However, you have lots of different options here. I will tell you that as you answer these questions, sometimes this section does take a lot longer for some students versus others based upon the amount of parents that you have, whether it's two or four or even more. If there's been several divorces or remarriages or things of that nature. So this section can take a lot longer for some students versus others. And with whom do you make your home? Let's say both parents. Do you have any children? This is a question about you, not about your parents. So for all of you, that will be no. And we're going to go ahead and click continue. And then you get to pick which parent is parent number one and which parent is parent number two. It doesn't mean you like that one better. It just means that that's the one you picked first. Notice how they put mother on top. It doesn't come first alphabetically, but moms are great, so we'll let them be first. So parent number one, I'm going to call my mother. And is my parent living? Yes. And I'm just going to go ahead and fill out all this information. And my mom's name is not really mom, but I'm going to go ahead and make that her name for the purposes of this exercise. And she was born in the United States, and it asks for a preferred email. So we're not going to put that there though. And notice that that is not a required question. So I'm not going to answer that at this point, but you want to go ahead and put in all that information in case they do need to talk to a parent. Parents' one address is the same as my home address because for you, that's probably going to be the case. Your parent number one is probably going to be the parent that you live with. If for some reason you're in a situation where you split time at two or more homes, you know, it doesn't matter which one you call parent number one or which one you call parent number two. You'll have an opportunity to answer those later on. All right. And then occupation of your parent. And so I'm going to look for educator or teacher for my mother, which here it is. And she was an elementary teacher, so I'm going to go ahead and click that. And she's retired, so we'll click that drop down menu. And then she was a teacher, so I have to list a title for her, so we'll go ahead and list that. Is the parent currently employed by or retired from a college or university? No, never employed at a college or university. If they are, it's going to ask which school, and they ask that for a variety of reasons, but you can go ahead and click the correct answer there. If you say that they're currently employed there, they're going to want to know for what school. But for most of you, not currently employed at a college or university. And then the education level, we're going to go ahead and click this, some college or university. And here's where it can get a little tricky. If your parent went to, two junior colleges and then graduated from a four-year college and then got, for example, an advanced degree to become a lawyer, they may have attended 4 or 5 schools. And so they do want all of that information. So fortunately for my mom, she only went to one school, and she went to Kent State University. So I can go ahead and just type that in there, and it'll put that. Now, you'll see that if you might say, well, my mom or dad went to school out of the country. Well, that's fine because they have every college and university listed in here for the most part. And so you should be able to find colleges, even international schools, in this college lookup. Okay, and so we're going to just go ahead and move through this. And then for parent number two, you're going to complete that in much the same way you did parent number one. So we're going to call that father. My father does not happen to be living, and date he died, May 29th of 2013. And Actually, there's a drop down menu here that you can use. Um, there you go. And then he was a Mr. And his name was not Dad, but that's going to be the name I'm going to use for this purposes. And he was a senior, and he was also born in the United States, and he was a um, business owner. Nope. We're going to go ahead and use business salesperson, and then he finished some college as well, and he only went to one school, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And he didn't go to this school, but I'm going to put in the University of Dublin, Trinity College. My dad didn't really go there, but I just wanted you to see that there was the option to pick an international school. And so there's also a button there that says, I don't see the college I'm looking for. You can also then manually input the name of the school. Sometimes schools have gone out of business, and so you may just have to manually input the name of a school for a parent. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then the last thing here in this family section talks about your siblings. So a quick story. I was in college my first year, and my roommate during football camp was a great guy. He had 12 brothers and sisters. So if you had to input, um, all of this information for up to 13 brothers and sisters, you can see how that would take a long time. Fortunately for me, I only have one brother, and his name happens to be Robert, which is the same as my dad's name. And so I'm going to go ahead and click this, and he's 50-ish. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then he has graduated from college. Um, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And then he got a bachelor's degree, and he went to Loyola Marymount. So you can see that this just is a little bit tedious, and um, it's just going to take some time to figure out. So one of the great things about this program is that it allows people to have conversations with their parents. So a lot of times, kids that I talk to don't really know where their parents went to school or don't really know what their job title is. And so I think it's really important for families to have this conversation. And it's a great opportunity for you guys to talk about, what you studied in school and things of that nature that you maybe haven't done before. And so this is a great time to spark some of those conversations about where mom and dad went to school, if they went to school, and things of that nature. So I encourage you to have those conversations throughout this process. So go ahead and click continue there. And luckily for me, I only had the one brother, and so I only had to do one section. All right, so at this time, I'm going to continue with the video, but if you want to stop it, you can always stop it and come back to the video later on. This next section is going to be the education section, and at this point, this is going to be my current or most recent high school. Again, if you've gone to multiple schools, it's going to be a little bit of a challenge if you have to list 2 or 3 schools, but you'll see Bishop Gorman High School shows up here right away. And so we're going to go ahead and click that, and it populates it for me. And when did I start? So let's say that we are going to be in the class of 2021. So that means that we started 4 years prior. So it looks like 2017 is when you guys started, and we started in August. Okay, it's not a boarding school. And did or will you graduate from this school? Yes, we hope to. And our anticipated graduation date is going to be 2021, and that's going to be in May. Please indicate if any of these have affected your progress. So there's going to be no change in progression. Most of you started as a freshman. You're going to graduate in 4 years. In the instance where you are going to take a little bit longer to graduate, you would pick the appropriate box. But for most students, that's not going to be the case. Other secondary high schools, notice that this is a required field, so you do have to pick 0 if this has been your only high school, and go ahead and click continue. For most of you, you've not taken coursework at another college or university, and so we want to go ahead and just click 0 colleges or universities where we've taken coursework. Now, under the grades section, there are approximately 355 students in your graduating class, and we report class rank exactly. And what is your class rank? I, of course, am number 1 in the class, so I'm going to go ahead and pick that. This information can be found on your transcript, and if you need a copy of that transcript, you can contact your school counselor, and he or she should be able to provide that information for you. Our rank weighting is always weighted, and our GPA scales out of a 4.0, and your cumulative GPA is whatever it happens to be. So I'm hoping to be the valedictorian, so a 4.16 is about the highest GPA I've ever seen at Gorman, so I'm going to just let you know that that was my GPA. And then GPA weighting, we always report a weighted GPA. So this information, again, if you don't have it right away, maybe you don't answer this part of the question, and so you'll see that if you hit continue, you can always move on to the next section. But when you go back and you look at the green, you'll notice that green here does not have a green check mark. Grades does not have a green check mark. That's because you didn't answer all of the required questions. So if you want to go back in there, you can then update the item that you did not answer. And then once you hit continue, you'll come back up here to grades. You'll see that you do have a nice green check mark. Now, it asks you to please list all courses which you're taking this academic year. If you're not currently enrolled, please list courses from your most recent academic year. So this is a tough question because let's say you have math, English, science, and social studies, but you're not taking a world language this year, so you're also taking criminal justice and honors econ. So you have 4 classes, and then you have honors econ and criminal justice, but then you also have art 1 and art 2 or something of that nature. So you may have more than 6 classes here, and that's okay. So just count up the total number of classes you're taking. Again, math, English, science, and social studies, those are all going to be full year classes. Theology, if you're taking it during the school year, is going to be 1 class for 1 semester and then a totally different class for the second semester. So that would already get you to 6 classes, and then 2 more for your electives might get you to 8 classes. So if you happen to have quite a few classes here, it's okay. I'm going to just pick 6 classes, and we are on the semester system. And so that's why I'm going to mark that. And then you have to list all of your classes here. So I'm going to call this pre-calc AB. And this is going to be at the honors level. So I'm going to go ahead and hit, honors here. And then this is a full year class. And so we're going to move on. And for course title number 2, I'm going to take honors lunch. There is no honors lunch, but it's just something we can put there. And then that's going to be for a full year also. And then you just want to list all of your schools here. So U.S. government, all of your classes here. So U.S. government, and let's say that's a regular class for me. So we don't have quote unquote regular, but we do have college prep. So let's go ahead and click college prep, and that is a full year class as well. We're running out of spaces here, so let's say that I have PE, and that one we could click regular or standard if you'd like. And let's say let's say that only happens first semester. So we're going to click that that's a first semester class. And then let's say the other class we have weight training, And weight training, again, regular or standard class. And that's going to be a second semester class. So you can see where having something first and second semester would create multiple classes. Now, the question that kids always ask, let's say I had scholars geometry, that's going to be for a full year, but what level do we put that at? Well, it's not honors and it's not AP. And so, what I like to do sometimes is, it doesn't really matter how you label it as long as you're being consistent. Um, so, the best option I think would have to be advanced. Um, so you can put advanced, you can put honors if you'd like, but if you have multiple scholars classes, you should list them as all advanced or whatever the case may be. But I like advanced for the scholars, and so again, we're going to call that a full year class. All right, we're almost done with this video, guys and girls, so just bear with me here. Do you wish to report any honors that are related to your academic achievements beginning with the ninth grade? And so let's go ahead and hit yes. Now, you can list up to 5 honors here. So in the past, you might have been Student of the Year and in, say, Scholars Geometry. And you did that in 10th grade. So, and that would be a school level accomplishment. And let's say you want to add another. So let's maybe say that you were a gold key winner in the Scholastic Art and Writing competition. And let's say you did that in 9th and 10th grade. And that might be a national level competition, state and school level. So that would be important to put here. And then those are the only ones that I want to put right now for the sake of time. But these should be academic awards or things having to do with things that you've done at school, not for extracurricular activities. So we're going to go ahead and hit continue here. Now this next thing that asks for community-based organizations, this next question, this is if you're use a program like Gear Up or anything like that. Most of you have not done that, so we're going to just hit that we haven't received any community-based help with this application process. We're going to go ahead and hit continue. And then the last question in this part of the video is the career interest and what do you want to do when you're a big kid. So I want to be a business owner someday when I grow up, and I expect to earn a master's degree. And again, I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. All right. So I think that video has been long enough. We've done a large number of these items for the Common App. We've completed the profile, the family, and the education tabs. And in our next video, we're going to finish the testing activities and writing, and then the courses and grades. And then you guys will be all set, and you'll have all the tools in your toolbox in order to complete the Common Application. And then in subsequent videos, we'll talk about how to add colleges to your Common App and how to search for schools and different things like that. All right, I hope you had a great time filling this out, spark some good conversations with your families, and look forward to seeing you in our next video. Have a great day.